This is Mark Whitten.
This is Adam MacArthur.
This is Ann Yatko.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Yurchak.
This is Erica Harlacher.
This is Daquan Wilshire.
This is Rico Fajardo, and you're watching.
And you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Set your heart ablaze.
All right, so this is episode 135 of Spoiler Force Podcast. I am doing this live on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. This is my first time doing it on Twitter, so I don't even really use that account as much, but I'm just doing it because I have the option to do it. So again, I am talking about House of the Dragon Season 1. This is a full review of just the overall first season. I'm not getting into anything specific, maybe besides the episode that dropped today, which was crazy because it's really fresh in my mind. So I'll probably talk about the finale episode and then go on and to give my thoughts about just the overall first season of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, my favorite characters, my least favorite characters, favorite moments, least favorite moments, like I've done on the previous review episodes when I have like a roundtable discussion, if you will. But this is the first time. It's been a long time since I've done episodes like this where I'm just by myself talking and doing reviews. So if you've been following Spoiler Force from the beginning, this is how I actually started doing episodes. Was like I would just review myself, but then now I'm doing it live here on social media and stuff. So let's just get right into it, man. There's so much to talk about with Game of Thrones. If you are tuning in, please give me your thoughts as well on the show. Like what are your favorite moments and all that. And if you've seen the finale, feel free to talk about it. It is going to be like spoilers everywhere. So if you have not watched Game of Thrones, or if you don't mind spoilers, it will be like in your face. So this finale, man, holy shit. This finale was very intense. Pretty much it picks up right off after last week's episode with seeing the Hightowers and Alicent and Otto, and pretty much them usurping the throne and giving Aemond the throne, or the Iron Throne. And now it's to not Alicent, it's down to Rhaenyra and Daemon and their crew in Dragonstone, and they're just trying to figure out how to solve this mess that the Hightowers have done, this treason and just usurping the throne from Rhaenyra. And you can see that she's trying to be like very peaceful, kind of like Viserys, like her dad, but then it just kind of falls apart because she has the first 15 minutes, man, like she has a miscarriage. They actually show her having like the stillborn, and that I almost like, it made me gag a little bit, like seeing that. I wasn't expecting the show to show that. And then it kind of mirrors like the first episode when her mom died, and the baby died too in the first episode, and it kind of like goes back to when they first showed Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra giving birth, and I believe that was like episode 6. So there's a lot of like comparisons and all that from the previous episodes, and then it's just wild seeing like how she's trying to keep the realm together for the sake of just like peace, but then you can see everyone around her, like her I don't know about her maesters, but like the knights or her Kingsguard and Daemon, like they're all putting in their input. Like, you need to do this. How many men do we have? We have to be ready for their attack. Where's our ships at? Just a lot of political things and military tactics going on, and you can kind of see like Daemon just be ready. He's ready to throw hands. Like, he wants this smoke, which is why I love Daemon. Like, everyone, I love Daemon, not even more just because we met him at Dallas Fan Festival. So if you have not checked out that episode, the episode I dropped earlier today, go check that out. I talk about my experience meeting Matt Smith, but meeting Matt Smith was awesome. But seeing him play this role, like where Daemon is just, he's ready for it now. Like he wants to throw hands. It's on sight right away. Like he's trying to tell. Am I giving out spoilers? Yes, I am saying sorry. So if this is like a live recap, live season 1 review. So I'm talking about the finale episode right now. So you might have to miss out on this. I know you want to support, but if you can't, just share the link. Yeah. So anyone who's watching, if you want to share this, please share this with on social media or wherever you're watching. But as I was saying, like, Daemon is ready for this smoke. He wants to fight, and it's just you'd think that Rhaenyra would be the type to be upset because her best friend betrayed her, but she's still trying to like, she gives Otto her answer. Like I'll tell him, I'll give you an answer tomorrow, because like Otto and the Hightower, or the Green team, pretty much comes to Dragonstone and tries to make a treaty or make peace with the Black team, or Rhaenyra's group. And I don't know, man. It was very just, you can kind of see what Otto's doing, man. The guy who plays Otto is so good. Like I have their names, the cast pulled up right here too. By Reese Iffin. Like he's so good as Otto Hightower. Like the guy is such a prick. Like he's just so conniving and very snake like. And it's funny because he also played Adam Sandler's brother in Little Nicky. Who did he play? What was his name? Adrian. Yeah, he was Adrian in Little Nicky. So it kind of like he's still playing the same role. He's just a lot older now. But they tell them, like the Hightowers tell the Targaryens, like, look, we'll let you have your land and have all your shit, but just pretty much bend the knee to what's his face, to Aemond, not Aemond. Why am I drawing blanks here? What the hell? What's the king's name? Aegon. Yeah, bend the knee to Aegon. Like they all have the same name. Just like they just recycle these names. But he's like, bend the knee to Aegon. He's the new king. Alicent gave you this like page or this letter. Like I know y'all are still friends, but just bend the knee. And Rhaenyra says no. Like I'll give you my answer. And so when they leave, she pretty much tries to rally who is loyal to the Targaryen, pretty much to Viserys and to her. And so I love this too. Like they bring up the Baratheons, the Vale, the Starks. Like it's just really cool to see them like point out the families and like just to say like they're still loyal to us kind of deal. And so pretty much she sends her sons Jace and Luke to send out these messages to pretty much the Baratheons, to the Starks, to the Aarons. And at this point, this is where it gets really intense, because her sons, they're not built like Aemond or Aegon. Aegon's not great either, but I'd say Aemond is the biggest threat out of like the kids, or like the younger group of characters, because he's very much like Daemon. He's ready to throw hands on sight. He already has beef with his his nephew cousins, and he wants to get revenge because Luke took his eye out. So they kind of just transitioned to Luke. I believe he went to the Vale first, and he pretty much goes and tries to tell the guy there, I don't know his name, but he pretty much tells him what his mom said, like, you guys served us, come join us, and it's a sworn oath. But then he pretty much tells the guy who's running the Vale, tells him like, nope, we are not doing that. If I'm saying something incorrect, please correct me, because again, all this stuff is just fresh in my head. I believe it's in the Vale where they're at, or he's a Baratheon, one of the two. But he pretty much says no, and Aemon's already there, parked with Vhagar, and they've already made like marriage proposals and stuff like that. Apparently, they love doing that in Game of Thrones. Like, I'll let you marry someone that I have, or I'll marry one of your daughters, and we can join houses. It's very like political with that, and so they're pretty much on Team Green. So Aemond tries to punk Luke in that area, but then they're stopped, and Luke flies off with his dragon. And this is where it gets insane, because I was like holding my breath watching this scene where Luke's flying out with his dragon, and his dragon's a lot smaller than Vhagar. I believe Vhagar is like the second biggest or the biggest dragon, and Aemond has it. So what turns out to make it seem like I never got last episode. You never got past episode 1 of Game of Thrones. Like, which one are you? They're at Storm's End. Thank you, Wanda, for correcting me. Yeah, so they're at Storm's End. Yeah, so pretty much what happens, Aemond tries to, punk Luke around, and they kind of go at it a little bit. They're chasing each other. Luke's about to escape, but then his dragon misfires and shoots flames at Vhagar. Aemond can't control him, and Aemond can't control Vhagar, and pretty much right when you think Luke is safe, Vhagar comes out of the sky, eats the dragon and Luke, and that part like hit me, like it shook me to the core, saying that I know that there is a lot of death and like a lot of Games of Thrones types of thing where like you're not going to expect what's coming, and I know that some of them are going to die. I didn't think Luke would die in that fashion. I thought at least he'd get killed like by Aemond or by Aegon. Like, I didn't think he'd get wiped out by the dragon like that, and so I was really caught off guard by his death. And you know, he's the younger son. I could see Jace getting killed like that because he's the older one and he kind of like talks shit too. But Luke is the one that even though he took out Aemon's eye, he's more passive than his brother. So seeing him get killed off like that was kind of heartbreaking. And then you see at the end, Daemon give the news to Rhaenyra, and I love this shot that they did, this final shot where right when Rhaenyra thinks like she's going through the worst, you know, it shows her backside. The camera's like panning into and just showing her backside, and you can kind of see her like walking, and she's here taking in the news and grieving at the same time. And Emma Darcy just turns around and her face changes and it cuts off to black. And man, I am so ready for the Dance of the Dragons and for season 2. I cannot wait to see them just start fighting. But you know, I gotta say, overall, this first season, I thought there'd be at least more dragons or like more dragon fighting than what they've shown in this first season. I was looking more towards that, but I guess we'll get that for season 2. But that's pretty much my quick recap of the finale. Again, if you have thoughts on the finale at all, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear or read your thoughts. But we'll just get into like this overall first like season 1 review. Again, I'm not going to break down every little thing. I'm just going to talk about, again, my favorite moments, least favorite moments, favorite characters, least favorite characters, and stuff like that, as I would do typically on my other like how I would do my other review episodes. But yeah, man, like just from episode 1 to now to this finale, I always thought this prequel for Game of Thrones was interesting because we're seeing the Targaryens now versus how we only saw a very few of them in the original series, and seeing them, you know, kind of just fall apart throughout the show. You see like what Rhaenyra is trying to do and what she's trying to be as a leader or as a queen, and then you kind of see like what Viserys is doing, like he's trying to be noble and keep peace, but we all know people like that don't survive in Game of Thrones. They end up dying anyway. And then you know, there's Daemon, who's just walking around. He's kind of very anti-hero-esque. You know, we don't really know what his plans are, but he's just kind of there. And they kind of reveal what his end game is in this episode too, like where he wants war, but then there was also a cool part where Rhaenyra tells him about the Song of Ice and Fire, and he had no idea what that was, and he was just like shook from that. And so I think Viserys not telling him that says a lot about Daemon's character, where he doesn't know exactly everything. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that maybe he might betray Rhaenyra at the end, or is he going to stay loyal to her, or does he? You know, is he going to wait till she wins the war? I mean, if you read the books, but you know what happens. But is he going to wait for the war to end and then kind of like, you know, come in, backstab someone to be king? Like, that's where I think Daemon stands. Like, you see the good bits of him, and then you also see like what he's trying to do for himself. So he's very up in the air. And then there's like the Hightowers. You have Alicent, Otto, Hightower. I can't stand either of them. The actresses for Alicent, both the younger one and the older one, did great. That the casting crew did a great job selecting those actresses because they look just alike. The same for Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock as well. But then I don't know. I think just for me personally, I think casting wise, Alicent was done very well. You know, I felt bad for her too, though. Like throughout the whole season, she's just like doing what she's been told. You know, there's a quote that what Rhaenys tells her last week. She's like, you know, you're just trying to open a window in a prison. she doesn't really want this anyway, but she's in it. And you kind of feel bad for Alicent, but like you also see how dumb she is too. Like when Viserys died, and they got him all high up off like milk with a poppy and leeches, and he's old and decaying, and she just assumes that he's talking about their son. And that's what I didn't like about Alicent. Like she doesn't exactly think things through. She thinks she's doing what's right, but then she's way off course. Like even in last week's episode where she was like, okay, well, we're gonna make Aegon king because that's what Viserys said, but we got to do this peacefully so that Rhaenyra can turn around and be on our side. But she didn't even know that her dad and like pretty much the masters of the court were already conspiring to take out Rhaenyra without her knowing. So I don't like that about Alicent. I think that she's probably like, it's like a love hate. I like her, but I don't like the character either. And there's also, who else is on this list? Krispy Kreme or Kristen Cole. He was surprisingly, he was not in the finale, which is I think he's been in every episode of Game of Thrones, or at least House of the Dragon. So to see him not in this episode was different, but I cannot stand him either. There's so much I can say about Kristen Cole that I don't like. It's just, he starts off as someone who is, very very like he keeps his oath, and he's very like old school, passionate, and he's loyal. But then like the moment he breaks his oath and tries to convince Rhaenyra, like, let's go sell oranges and cinnamon and Essos, I lost respect for that character. Like, you're not gonna take someone who is born into wealth and be a commoner. So I I just thought like this guy was hating from like the moment he got with Rhaenyra, and she was like, you're gonna be my side piece, you're just gonna be there for me when I need you, and we can live together. He has been so salty from then on. And seeing him beat Joffrey to death, to like just being calling out Harwin strong, and giving subtle jabs at like you protect those kids like as if you're their dad, and just like starting shit and talking underneath his breath, like he's very petty, which which I cannot stand this character at all. I hate Kristen Cole. He's the worst. He's the worst. Now for King Viserys, I thought Patty did a great job too, and he had some great moments that I liked. I believe it was episode 8 where where he tries to see his family peacefully eating at dinner, and like he at the end he still stands for Rhaenyra, even like when he's like at death's door, like he stays loyal to what he says. But it's just it was just insane seeing him like break apart from like episode 2 on. This guy has been sick, he's losing fingers, his back is nasty, he's decaying, he can't even sit on the throne without getting cut. Everything, like just physically he was deteriorating. Like he couldn't, it was bad, it was just bad for him. Like it was terrible. Each episode progressively made him look worse. Like he was looking more like the Mad King towards the end. And I'm surprised that like they actually kept him alive that long. I thought by at least like where they first show the adult Rhaenyra and Alicent, like by episode 6, I thought he'd be dead at that time, because there's a bunch of time jumps in House of the Dragon. So I thought he was gonna die early, or at least midway. But I thought his death was good too. That was a good scene. I just seeing him like not be aware of everything around him kind of irritated me. Like even when he went to see Corlys, where like he makes that marriage proposal, like, have Lenore marry my daughter, and you can keep the Valerian name up until where the kid becomes the king or queen. And just no one respected this guy. Like everyone around him was just the king. Like no one respected Viserys. Like he did not know what was going on. Like his hand. What's his hand's name? It's Harwin and Larys's dad. His hand's like, yeah, I think you're an okay king. You're not the worst, but you're not the best either. And it it's just funny seeing that Viserys thinks he's playing everything by the book again, just like kind of like Ned Stark. You play by the book and you do everything what is supposed to be right, but nothing goes right in this world of Game of Thrones. And so I thought he'd be killed off or at least die early, but again, like I said, he survived for a while, and I thought it was good to see him live at least that long. But it just very comical, like seeing him break apart and like putting his hands in leeches, and like they're all the maesters are like giving him all these kinds of medicines and teas, and nothing's helping this guy. He's just breaking apart every episode. Yeah, and then let's see, like what trying to see what else what other characters I liked as well. Oh, so the hand is Lionel Strong, that's his name. But Laris, oh man, Laris was a weird one. I guess we would just talk about Laris too. Like he's kind of like the little finger of House of the Dragon. He's just kind of like walking around, limping around. I'm surprised they didn't like come up with the name. I don't know if there was like one called him like Littlefoot or like Little Feet or something like that, or it just this guy was really weird from the get go. Even when he like talks to the young Alicent, saying like, oh, Rhaenyra drank the birth control tea and all that, and so he was already kind of like very what's the word I'm looking for? He's just very sneaky. He knows everything, and he kind of wants to let Alicent know, but at a price at the same time. And I didn't catch this the first time, where like where they're having dinner in the Queen's chambers. I believe for what episode was it? But they were having dinner, and I didn't see that she was already like taking off her shoes. Up until like where last week's episode, where you see him like oh, so that's why he's been staring at her. That's why he's been creeping on her, because he's already like seen her feet, and he gets off of looking at her feet. And so that was just weird, seeing that. Like everything in Game of Thrones is weird already, but I didn't think that they would make him that kind of a character where he gets off on feet. But it makes sense because his foot's all fucked up. And I don't know. Like I was not expecting to see that scene last week where he's just jerking it and looking at Alicent's feet. She's selling feet pics for information, and I read this one post online where they were saying like it was a power move for him, to where like even though she's the queen, he has power over her, and he can like make her do that, make herself look degrading in that sense, where I can give you what you want, but I can still have you do this for me and have like pleasure off of it. So this guy was just straight up weird. The actor did a good job though. I thought he did great portraying Laris, and like just to see him, he was willing to go to the extent of like killing his dad and his brother as well, like burning them. And he was very like just again sneaky is the best way I can describe this guy. The Valerians, I thought the Valerians were really good too. The casting was great. Corlys, I thought there was going to be more from Corlys, even though he's in charge of like all the ships and all of that. I thought he would at least like fight more. I thought they were going to show that, since he was like in charge of all that. And then Rhaenys was she kind of kept to herself. What did they call it? Like the queen who would have been, or something like that. Like she could have been queen, but she wasn't. And they kind of just keep to themselves up until where the kids getting married. And it was heartbreaking to see like them as parents losing Laena and Laenor, or quote unquote Laenor, because Laenor's he's not exactly dead, but like Laena's death, being burned by Vhagar, and then supposedly seeing Laenor's body being burned, and then their brother Vaemon gets his head cut off by Daemon. So House Valerian is just like they're hanging on by a thread, and I wasn't expecting to see them still stay loyal to the Targaryens. I thought they would at least like try to either play in the middle or just leave. I didn't think they would stay loyal to Rhaenyra. But I think it was just funny too. Like there was the scene in the beginning of the season where Viserys like they offered the daughter, a very young Laena, to Viserys. And it's like, yo, she's only 12, man. Like even he knew, like I can't do this, man. But then it was just just so crazy, like how, and that's like how they solved a lot of their issues in Game of Thrones. Like, yo, let's just like get our kids to get married, like have them get married. We'll that'll put our houses together, and we'll create a strong force and all that. It's just that was not the solution to any of the problems in Game of Thrones. If you want to start your own podcast like Spoiler Force, then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users like me to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast into different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view your stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and will also support Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want a simpler way to record both video and audio for your podcast, then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools that can help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to different destinations like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio once you're done with your recording session. Follow the link below, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Happy podcasting. And that's what I liked about this series, though. Like, it wasn't, this first season's not as action-packed, but there's just so much underlying subtext to when these characters speak to each other, how they interact with each other, you know, how pretty much the aspect of playing the game for the Iron Throne. Yeah, I love like that kind of, I guess you could say, drama between the characters and what goes on in the show. Like, who's on whose side? Is someone going to betray someone? Is someone like playing double agent? So that's what I really enjoyed about this first season of House of the Dragon, was just seeing like who was gonna make their move, because we all know there's gonna be a big fight in this overall series, and it's just the build up to it, which that's what I really enjoyed. But yeah, there's just a lot of characters to know, and a lot of names to remember. Yeah, and I guess we can just go into to Aemond and Aegon, or Aegon, to Aegon and Aemond. Aegon wasn't what I was expecting him to be. He's kind of just, he doesn't really want the throne, kind of like Jon Snow. He doesn't really want it up until where he gets crowned. The character himself is just like very spoiled, just does whatever he wants. Alicent's just trying to tell him, like, there's a reason why you have to do this, because she's pretty much telling her kids what Otto told her. And pretty much, if you don't become king, you're going to get killed when Rhaenyra is the successor. And so Aegon doesn't really care. He even asks his mom, like, does my dad even like me? He didn't even want me to be king. He wanted Rhaenyra to be queen. And up until where he gets crowned, and you see the power like shift, where everyone's praising him, and he has the Conqueror's sword and even the dagger. You see the power get to him, and I can't wait to see how Aegon's gonna be as king. I've seen a lot of folks say that he's gonna be Joffrey, kind of like King Joffrey, but I don't know. I don't think he's gonna be as reckless as that. But there are tendencies. You see him like act out already before he was king. Like, he was knocking up a bunch of random girls. He's just fooling around in the city, doing whatever he wants. He doesn't even care about his role as a prince, let alone be a king. But now that he's king, now that he's named king, I can't wait to see what he's going to be like. What are his calls? What is he going to do? And then we have Aemond, Aemond's one of my other favorite characters too, that's on the show. The actor that plays him, Evan Mitchell, I thought he looked a little bit too old for Aemond. He looks like he's as old as, he looks a lot older than like Luke and Jace, and they're all supposed to be like around the same age, but he just looks way too old. But the actor does a phenomenal job. Like, he pretty much is similar to Daemon, where he knows what he wants. He's training. He has the biggest a big dragon. He wants to be king, but is not. And, he even calls out Aegon, like, or he doesn't call Aegon, but he tells Kristen Cole, like I wanted to be king. Like this should be to me. I want this job, and I think the series itself would be a lot different if Aemond was given the option to be king versus Aegon. But even with this finale, like you see what Aemond does. He you can kind of see like when he does the act of like taking out Luke, or when Vhagar does it, you can kind of see him like there's a quick sense of doubt where he's like, oh shit, this is real now. Like I cannot back out from this. So it's hard to see how he really feels. If is he about this life pretty much? As much as he trains and as much as he wants to be like a great dragon rider and a fighter, is he about that life? Because now he's in it. He's responsible for that now. And even if Aegon was king, even though that doesn't really start the war, what his actions did with his dragon, that really tips over the cup to where, okay, the war is like it's wartime now. So I can't wait to see what next season holds for Aemond too, because now he's responsible for that. And I don't know if he's gonna fight. There's a lot of like teases of him and Daemon, like to see if the both characters or both actors go at it with each other, since they're so similar. But if they do fight, that'll be really cool, because I think Daemon is trying to get another big dragon, because he mentions like all the dragons in Dragonstone, even the dragons that the Hightowers have, and then Valyria has their own dragons. The daughters of Corlys have their own dragons, and I think they still have Laenor's dragon too, since Laenor is not there anymore. So Daemon wants to see everything burn pretty much. But that I don't think that's gonna happen yet. But I'm very excited to see what they're gonna do for season 2. I think there's another character here, Helena Targaryen, the sister. I read somewhere like where she's similar to the the Three-Eye Raven. I don't know if that's exactly true or not, but she had moments where she was saying some weird shit and it actually happened. Like last week's episode, like she said there was a beast beneath the boards, and that was actually Meleys, and which is Rhaenys's dragon. And so she was already saying certain things. I went back and watched where the episode where Aemond loses his eye, and she mentioned something about that, like the cost of. I'm paraphrasing here, but she's saying something like, what you want comes at the cost, and that's what happened to Aemond. He loses his eye, but gains Vhagar. So she's very odd as well. But then the actress does a great job for her portraying that character. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much what I've gone through with these characters. No, also I guess I can just talk about young Rhaenyra as well. I mean, Amelia Alcock did a great job again. But there's just things that she did in this show that initially I did not like. Not the actress, but just the character, like the young Rhaenyra. She just, she's young and naive, that she thinks like she can just get what she wants at any time, and it'll go her way. And just like initially, my first impressions was I wasn't feeling the character. I thought she was very whiny, very spoiled, and just she didn't listen. Like she thought she could just get her way with everything. But as the series goes on, and you can kind of see adult Rhaenyra, like knows she's more wise, and she's more she thinks more about her decisions and what she has to say. That's why I like Emma Darcy's portrayal of Rhaenyra more. I liked her portrayal of Rhaenyra more than Millie. But the character overall, I like seeing the growth of just Rhaenyra, seeing like how she was just very immature from the start till now, where like she has to make major calls and make major decisions to protect her family and what she believes is the realm for herself. And so I like that she Emma Darcy just has like this very great presence of just like, I think it's about how she speaks too, which is what I like, how she portrays Rhaenyra. But yeah, I think overall, like she was probably not my favorite character. I gotta say Daemon's my favorite, and then then maybe it's between like Rhaenyra and Aemond that are my top 3 favorite characters. I guess those are my favorite, and I already spoke about my least favorites, which was Kristen Cole and Alicent and Laris. Uh, moments. I guess my least favorite moments in this show was probably just not so much the build up, but like just seeing like how dumb, again, like I've said before, like how dumb King Viserys is. Like those are my least favorite moments, just because he thought that, like, no, again, no one respected this guy, so that's why I didn't like Viserys because of that. Like no one respects him. Um, and again, like my least favorite moments would be just like Kristen Cole, like all his scenes. I could not stand him. He was just petty. Uh, but yeah, I think that covers most of like my favorite characters and least favorites and favorite moments and least favorite moments. Um, but overall, again, the show I thought it was great. Um, I think anyone who has not watched it should watch it. You don't even need context from the first Game of Thrones or the original Game of Thrones series. And I think that's what a lot of people were kind of hesitant about with this show is that, with the original Game of Thrones series, how they went up until where it ended, is this gonna be even, could it pick back up, and I think with this first season House of the Dragon, they did that very well. Again, it's a lot of dialogue in the beginning, which is tough to kind of like swallow because everyone's expecting to see dragons. But now that you can binge watch it, it'll be a lot different than waiting weekly. Each episode, when I was watching it weekly, it was just kind of a slow burn because everyone's just plotting. Excuse me, everyone's just plotting, and we want to see what the plot twists are, and we want to see who's the villain or who's going to betray who, and we're expecting big moments like that watching this weekly. But I think if you watch it just straight through, it'll be more it'll be easier to watch. And I know there's been like a lot of comparisons between Game of Thrones and like Lord of the Rings. I've not watched Lord of the Rings at all. I don't want to talk about it too much on this episode, but from what I've watched with House of the Dragon, I thought this was great. Again, this is a great watch. If you're really into like just the politics and what I really enjoyed, what caught me off guard was the subtext. It's how they speak to each other, like just very with metaphors or similes. Like they're just saying shit without saying it. And so for someone like me who's very blunt, who speaks bluntly, it was really nice hearing them say things like even like when Rhaenyra talks to Lenore about their marriage, and she's like, you like goose and I like roasted duck, like they're kind of like they say subtle things like that to her, like she knew that he was gay with his knight, and she was like, we can just do our own thing. uh Let's see. So Emma does incredible job portraying Princess Rhaenyra. I think the writers did a great job in writing the characters. Like that Alicent isn't blatantly awful. You see her doing her due diligence and being a good wife and being a good queen, and how she genuinely had a friendship with Rhaenyra. It feels very normal and honest. That's a great input, Elizabeth. I like that a lot. But still, I can't stand Alicent. I cannot stand her. She's just like, I think her best moment for me was when when she first wore the green dress, and she's like, "Hello, stepdaughter." Like she called out Rhaenyra right away after Rhaenyra was like, "Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't, I didn't sleep with anyone, or I didn't make a move with Daemon." And when Rhaenyra, or when Alicent finds out the truth, and she just like pretty much calls her daughter, I was like, damn, power move right there. I think that's the only part or only scene I liked Alicent in. Other than that, like Olivia Cook does so well for the adult Alicent, where she's just so irritable, but then you can still sympathize with her actions at the same time. Like we're giving her a chance to see how can you not mess up. She does it anyway. The show really paints the picture as to why she makes the decisions she does and how it led up to her basically usurping the throne. Yes, the writers did a great job with that for sure. That's what I liked seeing. Again, that's what I really enjoyed with the show, was like all the politics stuff, where you see what Allison's trying to do. She wants to. She knows. I think it's personal for her too, because she wants to be free, or as free as Rhaenyra, and make choices freely like Rhaenyra, and then there's like this subtle jealousy that she can't do it because she listened to her dad, and she just like all of my act, like the scene where after Aemond gets his eye cut and she calls out Rhaenyra like you can do whatever you want and do all this, and then Rhaenyra fires back like, you know, now they see you for who you are, you know, like you're fake, man. You're not about what about what you say and stuff like that. So I think that was a really good like pretty much dialogue between those two characters, just when you see them go at each other. And even, you know, even with Alicent like being upset like that, she was like telling Viserys like, I'm your queen, you know, you have to be by my side. Why are you always taking Rhaenyra's side? It's like everything that Alicent does in this show, I don't think she thinks it goes her way. She has to always follow someone's order. She always has to do what is quote unquote right, in the sense of like just politics or her dad or just trying to protect her kids. Because overall, that's what it really is. Like she just wants to protect her kids because Otto's already like brainwashed her with this PTSD trauma. Like, you know, if you don't protect your kids, then Rhaenyra's gonna kill them and you're gonna lose everything. And so, hearing that at such a young age, you can see it kind of like tear down what Alicent's like thought processes when it comes to even trying to befriend Rhaenyra or just like trying to be very cordial with her at times. No, but I wanted to also talk about since I kind of touched up on it a little bit. I also wanted to like talk about the scene with Rhaenyra and Daemon, which is funny because a lot of folks were like, that is gross, but then and there's also certain fans who kind of like I guess you could say they romanticize that, which is really weird. But then it's also funny because there's the comparison between that and Larys jerking off to Alicent's feet. And so there's like this meme on the Game of Thrones pages and stuff like that where it's Aemond with two what was it, like blocking his eyes, and like, you know, when you see Larys jerking off his feet, like you don't want to see that, but then everyone's okay with Daemon making moves on his niece, which is was what was really funny too, because I have a family member who was like, she hates Daemon because of that. And when we went to go meet him, she's like, I still don't like him. He's a predator. He's after his niece. And so I thought that was just that scene where they're in the brothel like that. I was caught off guard by that. I didn't think they'd actually show like Matt Smith and Millie Alcock going like sensual like that. And it's I think that is still going to play a part between the older Rhaenyra and Daemon too, because I don't think he has, like, he wants to have full control over it, but he doesn't. And I think that's where, like, with the season finale where when they speak alone, I think this is where like the power struggle is going to be at between the two of them, where Rhaenyra is trying to again be good like her father, but then there's also Daemon who's very power hungry and wants to start a war. And even in this finale, like he puts his hands on her, and that was very surprising to see, like he even like put his hands on Rhaenyra like that. And so we can kind of see now where maybe she sees that he's not, I guess, in love with her and to that extent. You know, I think she has that. It kind of, I can't explain it to us. Like they both like each other, but they both know what they need from each other. And so I think now with this power dynamic or power struggle with Daemon realizing that even Viserys didn't tell him the Song of Ice and Fire, like I think that bugged him in a sense where up until after his death, his brother couldn't tell him everything. You know, and there was already the struggle between him and Viserys with that, like where he calls out Viserys like, I'm your brother, you should have made me your hand. I you know, we know each other, and Viserys didn't do that. So I think there's going to be a lot of subconscious like anger that Daemon has later on in the series, and maybe that'll mess something up, or that'll cause him to get killed eventually at the end. But yeah, I think I've covered what I wanted to say throughout the show. If you have any if anyone has input on this show, like I love see your comments as well, and to everyone who's commented, thank you for joining in and commenting and giving your input on Game of Thrones. I honestly, I was not expecting for anyone to just jump on here. But before I do wrap things up here, I know I missed out on a lot of things. Again, this is just like off the head type deal. Like I wanted to get this episode out right after the finale. If I did miss anything or said something wrong in this episode, comments or let me know and correct me as well. I love to see your input on Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Who was your favorite characters? Who was your least favorite? What's your favorite moments, least favorite moments? What was things that you like cinematography wise? Did you want to see more dragons? Did you want to see more Daemon or even more Rhaenyra or whoever? I love to know what your thoughts are before I wrap this up. But overall, man, this show was great. I think, like I said, you don't need to watch the initial Game of Thrones to like this series. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. This episode is going to be a little bit shorter than I thought it would be. I was trying to push it for like another 10 minutes, but I think I've talked about exactly what I wanted to speak about. But yeah, if you guys do like this, because this is like, it's been a while since I've done reviews like this. So if you like the reviews that I do like this, where it's live or like just by myself, let me know as well in the comments. Or if not, I'm gonna do more roundtable discussions and stuff like that, and kind of have more guests on. But this was very soon to just do. I wanted to get this out right when the finale aired. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Episode 135 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Like, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms. Links should be on the description. If you were able to catch this live, thank you. I know this will be on Facebook, but for the folks who are waiting for like YouTube or for the audio version of this, I'll probably drop it next week, because the rest of this week I'm not going to be home. I'm going to stay at another cousin's place. So I'm not going to have time to edit and to extract the audio and upload it onto the podcasting platform. So right now, Facebook and Twitch, I believe Twitch should hold on to this, the VOD too, but Facebook and Twitter, you can probably catch this whole episode. But again, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to Spoiler Force on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. You can listen to it on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can watch all the videos on YouTube. And watch like all my other interviews I've done with other voice actors and stuff like that. But yeah, that's episode 135. I'm probably gonna take another week or two off to try to see what I can do for episodes 136. Now that I'm slowly getting back in the groove of doing podcasting again. Yeah, it's probably gonna be a lot more reviews coming up. I don't want to say exactly what I'm doing next unless I get an email from like potential guests or stuff like that. But if you like this episode, again, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to know what your thoughts are on House of the Dragon. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give a review and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want to get all Spoiler Force updates or even peeks at behind the scenes, you can join the Spoiler Force Discord community. And if you'd like to show support, give tips, recommendations, sponsorships, or any collaborations, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com.